MUALANI, CHASCA, and their weapons. Let's get right to it. Now here's an extremely crude summary. Too long, didn't watch. They're nice characters, but not cries coming up. Disclaimer, my ratings are only here to help you make the decision and not a final say on who you should pull. Because a character is more than just their combat kit. It's also about their personality, their aesthetic, their presence in the main story, their exploration. MUALANI is a good on-field DPS. Good in terms of her potential damage output, but she is extremely janky to play. There are so many things that can go wrong in her gameplay. How we have to constantly collect things, otherwise her skill just ending and we are stopping to do damage. Or the jankiness of waiting for pyro application and forward vaporize. The jankiness of using the teams for her, either applying too much hydro or having to use so many buffer and reacting with hydro. Which one takes priority? Do Silulan and then Arcade Petra on another character? Her optimized gameplay is just all over the places. Let me give you a few examples of how janky MUALANI's gameplay is, because the cool MUALANI speedrun stuff you often see online is usually the single flawless result after a few hours of the players banging their head against a wall. Let's get ourselves some MUALANI sweat. That sounds so wrong. Is MUALANI gameplay a bit like Mahuika? No. At least 3 times worse. Imagine Mahuika gameplay, but you use Mahuika burst. After 1 or 2 attacks, her bike goes out of control and just spin around randomly, and then you have to run and collect the bike again, or the burst ends early. That is MUALANI gameplay. At least 3 times as janky. When MUALANI is in her special state to do damage, you have to collect these little pink things. If you don't collect it, her skill state ends early, and then we do less damage. It ended early! I ain't gonna deal with this.
Booba, get carving waves! Amazing! Surf's up! Bring it! Chill out! Faster!
That's too far! MUALANI gameplay. I don't know how many times I missed swirling.
What kind of kite falls
Amazing.
carving waves?
Okay, if you are not a player who enjoys finicky gameplay and resetting a ton of times, this is not really a character for you combat-wise. But other than that, she has a very bubbly personality. If not for her gameplay, I would have pulled for her on more of my accounts. She's cute. She does have an exploration ability, surfing on water, that is quite prolonged, even outside of Natlan. MUALANI is restricted to Vaporize or good with other reactions too. Technically nowadays, with the release of Escovia, MUALANI can be used in a freeze team, but that is a little bit cold. You can use MUALANI on field in a freeze team with Escovia. It's doing somewhat similar damage to her Vaporize team. You can also use MUALANI as a weird TTDS and scroll holder for Skirk, so there are some niche use. I would also like to point out that her signature weapons specifically says that we need to trigger Vaporize reaction, otherwise we are losing buff. Her signature weapon specifically wants her to play Vaporize. Alright, depends on your perspective. If you're willing to put up with jankiness, she's a good character. If you're not willing to put up with the jankiness, she can be knocked down to a good minus character, because for a person that's not willing to reset a ton of times, her performance on average is definitely lower. Meanwhile, CHASCA is also a good minus character. This is not because of her jankiness, but her damage output is a little bit lower comparing to other Natlan on-field DPS. CHASCA does make up of it with her insane exploration ability though. Flying is flying. Flying over terrain is flying over terrain. Do you know CHASCA even just climbs up a mountain by just pressing forward? So just go to a slightly slanted wall, 70 degrees upward, she will still just glide upward. One big downside of CHASCA is that she uses very expensive teammates. She wants Bennett, which is heavily contested. She wants Sidlali and Mahuika, which is heavily contested as support for her. She wants Farina, basically all the best supports in the game. And in an era when we have to make 3 teams, using so many characters to support CHASCA is a hinder rather than help when trying to make teams. Can you use Inefa with her now? Something like Farina, Inefa, Bennett, I don't think that is even a top performing team for her. Here's the thing about CHASCA. She actually heavily needs Mahuika in her team. Alright, let's take a look at the field performance of these teams. So let's say Bennett, CHASCA, with that Mahuika, Escovia, Farina, Bennett, 75,000 DPS, 74, Zelali, Farina, 71, Mahuika, 91, Mahuika, 82, Bennett, Farina, Oron, 72, 74, 74, 59, 66, 78, 69, 59. Let's try some composition with Silale. We're gonna ignore the Mahuika stuff for now. Silale, MUALANI TTDS, Bennett, 61, 61 with Bennett, Shangling, Silale, Shenhe, Bennett, 60, Silale, Rosaria, Bennett, 55. So you may be asking me, where is this going, Timmy? Now, let's look at team with CHASCA and Mahuika. 100, 98, 80, 91. Oron is a bum. I'm sorry. 82. CHASCA is kind of a character that is, in a hidden way, needs Mahuika. It's not very apparent, but when you look at the numbers, you'll recognize that. And if you play a character that needs Mahuika, why don't you play Mahuika main DPS? That does just more. Okay, this is in terms of purely Stygian Onslaught team making. For any other purpose, for open world, absolutely play anything you want. For Abyss, it's likely that you still have 2 teams even when you use Mahuika with CHASCA and Bennett. But when we need to make 3 teams, that is a little bit questionable. I'd say CHASCA is a character that can bring the firepower, pun intended, to your account. It's just that she often requires expensive support. Otherwise, her damage is a little bit on the middling side. If your account is not well invested in terms of good support, then you're not gonna see great performance from her. And even when your account is invested in with good support, you oftentimes find that the good support needs to be played with CHASCA and away from your potentially other teams if you need to make multiple teams. So that's one of her limitations when it comes to combat. The 4-star Bennett's amazing. Up until now, Bennett's still amazing. I rarely give an amazing rating. Only 2 characters in the game that I give amazing rating to, that is Mahuika and Bennett. Mahuika because she does a lot of damage and she can also support a lot of characters at the same time. Bennett's supporting doing so much. That may change in Notcry though, because Notcry prefers Elemental Mastery a little bit more, but we'll see. Bennett's still now an awesome character. He is the character to use if you play an on-field DPS that scales with attack. The other 4 stars, Oron is a good minus character. You're gonna see him popping up from time to time in some teams. Ifa is a decent character. He wants to be on-field. He can play off-field, but he's gonna be worse than Sucrose if you play him off-field. Let me summarize the banners. MUALANI, good minus to good depending on how you like to play the game. Bennett, awesome. Oron, good minus. Ifa, decent. Overall, on average, this is a good minus banner. There is no synergy, which is why the value of banner is down slightly. MUALANI doesn't want to play with Bennett, doesn't want to play with Oron. She has better option than Ifa. For CHASCA is a good minus character. The 4-star casts are the same, but there's a little bit more synergy because CHASCA can play with Bennett. CHASCA can play with Oron as a cope option before you get better support. So there's a little bit of synergy. This is also a good minus banner, even though CHASCA value is a little bit lower than MUALANI. Let's move on to the weapons. These 2 weapons are unfortunately quite specific, more so on MUALANI weapon. Her weapon is basically just gonna be a stat stick if your name is not MUALANI. It gives a so-so amount of base attack with a lot of crit damage, but other than that, it's gonna increase HP and it increases normal attack. With a caveat, if you're not vaporizing, then this normal attack is gone. So basically, you can use that as a cope option for overlap because it increases HP and crit damage, but that's it. So best in slot for MUALANI, but otherwise it's only a good minus option. Stat stick. Barbara DPS, Yanfei DPS, yeah. Astro Vulture's Crimson Plumage. What a name. CHASCA weapon for short. It's best in slot for CHASCA, though it is a little bit more universal because it gives basic stat, which is high base attack and some crit damage. It also increases the charge attack by up to 48% at R1 and burst damage by up to 24% at R1. This is kind of universal for charge attack bow characters, so those are Ganyu, Lini, Tenari, Setos. It's a little bit more universal. The sword part, no one can get other than CHASCA. I guess you can play Faruzan main DPS. So good minus, good. Is Self even useful on Risley at all because your friend was considering it? No, not at all. He's gonna benefit from crit damage. The low base attack is hampering Risley damage. Max HP increase, Risley doesn't care about this. Normal attack damage increase only when you're continuously triggering Vaporize, which Risley doesn't do. So all of this passive may as well just not be there for Risley. This is all Risley gets. Regarding 4 stars weapon, the bow is decent if you have low refinement, good minus for high refinement, mostly for charge attack bow characters. This is like a cope CHASCA option if you do not get a weapon when you try to pull on this banner. Once again, charge attack bow, you can use it on Setos, Tenari, Ganyu, Lini. Faf is Faf. This is a cope MUALANI weapon weapon if you don't get her signature. It is decent at low refinement and good minus at high refinement. And finally, this is a plunge Claymore fruitful hook. It is good minus at low refinement and good at high refinement. It is the best Claymore possible you can use for plunge character. So once again, getting R5 of a 4-star is harder to get than an R1 of a 5-star. That is something that you should be considering. Getting an R5 of 4-star requires on average more than 200 pulls, and that is already enough to guarantee you a 5-star weapon. MUALANI 6 good minus overall, best in slot for her. CHASCA 6 obviously best in slot for her, good weapon overall because it's somewhat more flexible. This bow decent to good minus, this catalyst decent to good minus, this Claymore good minus to good. Faf sword is good, Faf lance is good. Faf lance is one of the most commonly used Faf. Faf sword is the second most commonly used Faf weapon. So not only they are Faf, they are some of the more commonly used one compared to Faf bow and Faf bow. The value of the banner, this weapon banner is good minus. Have in mind what you're trying to pull for before you get in here. If you don't have the extra Primogem, you should probably think about a 5-star weapon you would like to have before pulling blindly for some 4-star weapon. That's an honest advice. Faf mentioned, you're having to tell your cousin the value of Faf, especially in Stage and Onslaught nowadays when we start with 0 energy. Faf stock is rising ever higher. Alright, chat, would you like to see a work of art? Here, you are about to witness a work of art. Ready? Oh, that's too amazing. Let's get a PNG of the weapon? No, I refuse. This is a work of art and you cannot tell me otherwise. Okay, here's the Timmy's Bird, your faithful streamer rating of this banner. This 5-star weapon is good. And this 5-star weapon is good. Best weapon for your support you can get. They are very universal. It's rare that they make 5-star this universal. Make sure you epitomize path for the correct 5 weapon that you want and you'll be good. You're crying at the uneven lines. MUALANI is sick or something. Dad, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. So actually, the MUALANI signature is somewhat hidden in the banner. You don't see it, but it's always there. It's in the pool, but they never let us know. And if you decide to pull on this banner, you may also get a MUALANI signature. Just go on the side, you know? TTD has war domination. Chat, am I actually using this as a thumbnail for the banner? This looks majestic. 7/10. Majestic. Let me cook. Okay, I feel obligated to say this. Do note that the probability of getting a 4-star weapon on the weapon banner is quite low. So know the risk, and if you accept the risk, then you can do it. But when we get to 5 stars, there's a 50% chance that we're gonna get a rated up 4-star weapon. There's a 50% chance that we just get something else random for 4-star. And then after that, we only get a 20% chance of getting a correct 4-star weapon because there are 5 of them and the chance is distributed evenly between them. So it's actually only a 10% chance of getting the 4-star weapon you want. 50% times 20% is 10%. Okay, and with that, we're done with these banners. Let's give you good folks a good summary of these. Good minus to good depending your playstyle. Awesome, good minus, decent. Overall value is good minus, no synergy. Good minus, awesome, good minus, decent. Overall, there's a little bit of synergy between CHASCA and Bayonet, and overall, good minus. MUALANI 6, good minus. CHASCA 6, good, more universal. CHASCA knockoff 6, decent. MUALANI knockoff 6, decent. Gaming and Deluxe 6, good minus. The good at high refinement. Every support signature weapon ever. Fab sword, Fab lance, good. Overall weapon minor value is good minus.